The bell above the diner door rang every morning at exactly 6:17, and every morning, Emily Carter felt a quiet knot tighten in her chest before she even turned around. The old man came alone, always hunched, always moving like the weight of years pressed harder on him than gravity itself. His coat was too thin for the Midwest winters. His hands shook when he reached for the counter, and his eyes carried the distant look of someone who had learned to survive by disappearing. Most people barely noticed him. Emily noticed everything. Emily had learned early in life that kindness was not loud. It did not announce itself. It showed up daily, even when no one thanked you. She was 27, a waitress in a small Pennsylvania town, juggling double shifts and overdue bills, still carrying the quiet grief of losing her mother and the long ache of an absent father. Every tip mattered. Every free plate cost her something. And yet, every morning, when the old man sat in the corner booth and ordered only hot water, Emily felt something inside her refuse to look away. If you believe in the kindness quest and in second chances that come from small, unseen choices, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who still believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this survive because people like you keep them alive. Emily began by leaving bread near his table, telling herself it was leftover. Then came soup, then eggs, then full meals. She never made a show of it. She rang it up as waste. She paid for herself when the owner noticed inventory slipping. Some days, she skipped her own lunch. Some nights, she cried in her car, wondering how long she'd keep doing this. But every morning, the old man ate slowly, carefully, as if each bite was a memory he had not allowed himself to feel in years. The old man's name, she eventually learned from a worn hospital bracelet, was Harold Whitman. He spoke rarely, but when he did, his words carried a gentleness that suggested he had once been someone important to someone else. Emily noticed the scars on his hands, the way he folded napkins precisely, the way he always thanked her with his eyes rather than his voice. She sensed that hunger was not the worst thing he carried. Loneliness was. Winter grew harsher. Snow piled against the diner windows. Business slowed. Emily's manager warned her about giving away food. Her electricity bill went unpaid. She sold her mother's old bracelet to cover rent. Still, she fed Harold. Not because she believed it would change anything, but because it was the only thing that felt right in a world that often didn't. One morning, Harold did not come. Emily felt the absence like a skipped heartbeat. She checked the booths again and again, her hands trembling as she poured coffee for strangers who complained about the cold. Days passed. A week. She feared the worst. She asked around, but no one knew anything. Harold had lived quietly, left quietly, and it seemed the world had not noticed. Then, on a gray Tuesday, the diner door opened and the room changed. The man who walked in did not look like he belonged there. His coat was tailored, his posture confident, his presence commanding without effort. People glanced up instinctively. Emily felt it too, a shift in the air, like the moment before a storm breaks. The man scanned the room, his eyes sharp, searching, then stopped when they reached the corner booth. Emily recognized the expression immediately. It was not wealth she saw. It was fear. The man introduced himself to the manager with a quiet authority and requested to sit alone. He ordered nothing. He sat where Harold used to sit, his hands clenched, his jaw tight, his eyes wet with something he was trying desperately to control. Emily served him water, and noticed how similar his hands were to Harold's. The same long fingers, the same faint scar along the thumb. By the end of her shift, the truth unraveled without a single dramatic moment, without raised voices or tears in public. Emily learned that the man was Jonathan Whitman, a technology billionaire whose name appeared on buildings and news articles across the country. She learned that Harold was his father, estranged for decades after a bitter family fracture built on pride, misunderstanding, and time that passed too quickly. Jonathan had spent years searching quietly, guilt gnawing at every success. He had finally tracked Harold to this town, only to arrive too late. Harold had been hospitalized 2 weeks earlier, severely malnourished, his body exhausted. Nurses had spoken of a young waitress who made sure he ate, whose name he repeated with gratitude even as his strength faded. Harold had passed away 3 days before Jonathan walked into the diner. Emily stood frozen as the weight of it settled over her. She had fed a man daily, never knowing he was loved by someone powerful enough to change the world, yet powerless to turn back time. Jonathan listened as Emily explained, not with pride, not with expectation, but with the quiet honesty of someone who never imagined being seen. He learned how she paid for the meals herself, how she stayed late to make sure Harold was warm, how she sat with him when the diner was empty so he would not feel invisible. Jonathan left the diner. That day changed. The days that followed felt unreal. Emily returned to work, unsure of what came next. She did not expect anything. She did not want anything. But kindness has a way of echoing beyond its moment. Jonathan funded Harold's funeral and asked Emily to attend, not as a guest of honor, but as family. He established a foundation in his father's name focused on elder hunger and isolation in small towns across America. Diners like Emily's became partners. Meals became dignity. Loneliness became visible. Emily was offered a role within the foundation, not because she was poor, not because she needed saving, but because she had already been doing the work the world forgot mattered. Emily struggled with the decision. She loved her town. She feared change. She feared being seen. But she remembered the morning she sat across from Harold, watching him eat in silence, understanding that love did not require permission. She accepted. Her life did not become perfect. Healing never is. But it became purposeful. She spoke at small community centers, trained volunteers, helped design programs that respected pride instead of shaming it. She carried Harold's memory not as a burden, but as a promise kept. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that the smallest kindness can ripple further than wealth or power, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the world. Before the ending, we have a special request. Comment below and write, "Kindness feeds the soul," if you believe compassion still changes lives. Years later, Emily still works in mornings at the diner, pouring coffee for early risers, listening more than she spoke. The corner booth remained empty, but it no longer felt lonely. It felt sacred. And every time the bell above the door rang, Emily remembered that the world does not change because of who walks in unexpectedly, but because of who we choose to care for before anyone is watching.